各位委員，大家好。
Members, good afternoon. Good afternoon. It is the appointed time for the meeting and we have a quorum. I now call to order the meeting of the panel on security. On the 18th of October, we received 2 valid nominations for chairmanship. Mr. Chan Hak-kan was nominated by Mr. Jeffrey Lam and seconded by Ms. Alice Mack. Mr. James To was nominated by Mr. Kenneth Leung and seconded by Mr. Alvin Young. I'd like to ask members whether you have other nominations. I'll ask again. Any other nominations? I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. I have already said that I would only count to 3. So we don't have more nominations and there are 2 candidates. Number 1, Mr. Gary Chan Hak-kan, and number 2, Mr. James To Kan-san. I will ask the staff to distribute the ballot papers and also the chop.
I'd
like to remind members, but I think you already know this very well. Please chop on the ballot paper, and after that I will declare a close of the voting procedure, and after that no voting papers would be distributed, and all voting papers would be collected by the staff, and all those who have got a voting paper should personally put the ballot paper into the ballot box. Before you do so, please do not leave your seat.
I'll
remind you again. You can see on the screen, number 1 is Mr. Chan Hak-kan, number 2 is Mr. James To Kan-san. Those who don't have a ballot paper should raise your hand and you will be given a ballot paper. Has everybody got a ballot paper? If not, please raise your hand. Mr. Shiu Kai-chen doesn't have one?
Some
more members have come in. Also Mr. Ma Fong-kwok. Ms. An Chang, do you have a ballot paper? Yes?
I'll
ask members again. Have you all got a ballot paper? If you do, I'll just remind you again. Number 1 is Mr. Chan Hak-kan, number 2 is Mr. James To. Now please chop on the ballot paper. If there are no questions, no, I will count to 3 and no more ballot papers will be distributed. 1, 2, 3. No more ballot papers will be distributed. After you have chopped the ballot paper, the staff will collect your ballot papers. Before you do so, please do not leave your seat. We distributed a total of 49 ballot papers. 2 members should observe the counting of votes, and they are Mr. Jeffrey Lam, who nominated Mr. Chan Hak-kan, and also Mr. Kenneth Leung, who nominated Mr. James To.
好意思啊，會召委員你太遲。
Sorry, Mr. Uchiwa, you are too late.
好，請大家係咪已經係放晒所？
Have all members put ballot papers into the ballot box? Any more? If not, Mr. Jeffrey Lam and Mr. Kenneth Leung, please come forward to observe the counting of votes.
好啦，而家我哋開始唱票。
We'll start the counting.
2號
Number 2. Number 1. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2.
2號
Number 2.
2號
Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 2. Number 1. Number 2.
1號
Number 1. 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 Number 2. Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey Lam and Mr. Kenneth Leung. Please return to your seats. After counting the votes, Mr. Gary Chan has 31 votes and Mr. James To got 18 votes. I declare Mr. Chan Hek-kan elected chairman of the panel on security. All the ballot papers would be destructed at the supervision of the clerk. Mr. Gary Chan, please take the chair. Thank you for your support. We will now conduct the election of the deputy chairman for the panel. Any nominations? For Deputy Chairmanship for the panel on security, Mr. Wu Chi-wai, I nominate Mr. James To, seconded by Ms. Claudia Mu. Mr. James To, do you accept nomination? I do. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I counted to 5 and I have heard no other nominations. I declare Mr. James To elected Deputy Chairman of the Panel on Security. Congratulations, Mr. To. Item 2 on the agenda. Schedule of meetings for the 2016-17 session. The schedule has been distributed to members. I'd just like to draw your attention to one particular date, which may have to be adjusted, and that's the 4th of April, 2017. It's a public holiday. I propose to postpone that meeting to the 11th of April, 2017. That is by a week. Any objection? If not, so be it. Also, I'd like to remind members that originally we should conduct our regular meeting next week. But this may be a little rushed. And meeting papers might not be ready within a week. I would propose that we hold a meeting on the 11th of November, a Friday, at 10:45. Is that okay? So the clerk will have enough time to get papers ready and to notify members. Any objection? If not, I would propose that we hold a meeting on the 11th of November, a Friday, at 10:45 a.m. Also, every year, the Panel on Security invites the Commissioner for Police to give a law and order report on the previous year. And the clerk has proposed a date for that meeting, and that's the 24th of January 2017 from 2 to 4 p.m. Any objection? If not, we will invite the CP accordingly. Item 3. Items for discussion at the next meeting. Please refer to the list of issues suggested and also a list of follow-up actions. I see many hands. I believe you like to make proposals. Priscilla Leung, Michael Tian, Helena Wong, Claudia Mo, Lam Chuk Ting, Mr. Ray Chan, Mr. Nathan Law, and also Charles Smock, Elizabeth Quat, and Ben Chan. Also Shuka Chun, Priscilla Leung. Thank you, Chairman. First, number 11 of the follow-up issues, and that is the refoulement claims and also fake refugee problems. This is a big concern. I hope you will give it priority. Number 2, the fire safety building ordinance. There are many old buildings in Hong Kong, and owners and tenants are under a lot of pressure. I hope we can discuss this at an early stage to see whether the ordinance can be amended and how there can be policies to help owners. I will record your views. Next, Michael Tian. Thank you, Chairman. There are a few things I'd like to discuss in the coming year. Number 1, the non-refoulement claim mechanism. I know we have discussed it before, and the New People's Party has suggested that the deadline should be moved forward so we can send the message around the world that people cannot come here and expect a delay of 8 to 10 years. Number 2, internet safety and combating technology crimes.
最後一樣嘢呢，就係我本人呢，不嬲都耿耿於。
Finally, 1 or 2 years ago, I watched a 20-minute video of a family who were driving. They used foul language at a police officer. I think we should establish an offense for insulting police officers. Such offenses are present in other jurisdictions because such insults would emotionally affect our police officers. Dr. Helena Wong, I'd like to make a declaration. I'm a member of the IPTC,
投訴局
or rather the IPCC. We should have a mechanism for lodging complaints against the police, and we should invite the IPCC as well as the Police Complaints Division. They should be invited to tell us about their work. We should also revise the IPCC ordinance. They should be given powers of investigation. For the Mongkok riot on the first day of Lunar New Year, and at the IPCC, I've heard claims that it was a premedicated operation. But as of now, the IPCC had not shared the investigation report. The report should be submitted. As for complaints towards certain police officers for beating up people, we should consider installing cameras. In the absence of cameras, it's very hard to ascertain whether police officers have committed such offense. We have not dealt with such issues yet. Ms. Claudia Mo. First of all, in terms of security, I think the priority should be on the co-location arrangement at XRL because it would jeopardize one country, two systems. This matter should be of high priority, and we should discuss it next time. In January, the Commissioner of Police would make a report at the panel. 2 years ago, I requested classification of animal cruelty cases, and they should share court cases. At that time, the CP said he would consider the issue, but subsequently, we have had a new CP, and the matter has been ignored. And now I make the same request to include cases of animal cruelty. Mr. Lam Shuk Ting. I think we should discuss the appointment saga at ICAC at the panel. As for corruption related to bid rigging, I think we should cover that issue at this panel or another panel. Apart from regular reports made by the CP, the ICAC should follow suit. The recent incident has attracted great concern by the public. Mr. Ray Chen. I want to follow up on the issue of the Immigration Department rejecting certain visitors from entering Hong Kong. There was an incident in which a transgender person from Thailand was rejected entry into Hong Kong, and the visitor was insulted with derogatory words. and it was a very serious incident. Mr. Nathan Law, I want to follow up on a few issues. First of all, we have to review the Security Bureau's support towards Hong Kong people overseas who are distressed. Recently, a Hong Kong person was detained unreasonably. The Security Bureau said an overseas unit was following up on the action, and as of now, the student leader has not been given support by the Security Bureau. So in terms of support given to distressed Hong Kong people overseas, what is the SB doing? They said the China embassy is following on the issue, but as you know, in human rights incidents, the victims have been ignored by the Chinese authority. And as Dr. Helena Wong suggested, we need to follow up on the IPCC. In terms of efficiency in handling complaints and popular opinion, the IPCC has been deemed useless. Would there be any improvement to its appointment mechanism? The police force has attracted low ratings in recent years, and there are a lot of scandals. Is there any abuse of power in an investigation? Would this be improved? And when exercising power, would the police's guidelines be made transparent so that the public would have confidence again in their work? And we need to review the Immigration Department's practice in rejecting certain, in denying certain persons entry. In the Thailand incident, there are claims that the Chinese authority gave a blacklist to Thailand. Would certain persons be denied entry because of their backgrounds? In Taiwan, certain lawmakers are also denied entry. Can the Immigration Department clarify the relevant guidelines and requirements? Mr. Charles Mok. Chairman, some issues have been mentioned by other members, so I won't repeat them. But I think we should discuss the dishonest use of computer at this panel. We have seen more and more cases in which this offense was cited by the police. But so far, no figures are made available. And they are not even considering disclosing such figures. This is unreasonable. I hope this would be included on the agenda. Dr. Elizabeth Quat, thank you. For non-refoulement claims, it involves different departments, so it's rather complicated. I wrote to the House Committee requesting the formation of a working group, so I hope members can support that. In the coming year, we should also discuss the shortage of manpower at discipline services. We should also discuss the possible offense of insulting the police force. We should also discuss a mask ban. I also look forward to the setup of animal police. We should also crack down on the smuggling of animals. And for fake marriage, it should also be discussed. Mr. Ben Chen. Chairman, I want to discuss illegal prostitution. This issue is serious in older districts. Dr. Fernando Chang. The speaker is not coming through. The microphone is not on yet. Around a year ago, at Mei Lam Estate, the police mistakenly arrested a person with mental handicaps. For mentally incapacitated persons, we should review the policies on arrests and detention. I hope the police can explain any revisions. Mr. Edward Lau. Thank you. I've been paying attention to population policy for both one-way permit holders and the other immigrants. I realize that some of them want to return to the mainland. And I understand that the mainland authorities are looking at a return mechanism. So for these persons, what has been done between the Hong Kong government and the central authority? If there is a return mechanism, as for the retraction of Hong Kong permanent citizenship, I hope the issue can be clarified. So hope that we can achieve a win-win situation for both one-way permit holders. Mr. James Toh. We have a lot of issues to cover. I don't know how we can cover all of them. I think you might have to convene special meetings or extra meetings to cover all the issues. In recent years, some local and international crime syndicates deceived Hong Kong people, especially younger people, to go overseas. And these groups might ask these people to transport drugs or even weapons from point A to point B. These people have been lured by these syndicates in Hong Kong. And drugs were smuggled into their baggage. And some young people face life sentence or even death penalty. When I look at those cases and the backgrounds of the people deceived are diverse, I think we should discuss the enforcement officers in Hong Kong and how they would crack down on these activities. They might need to investigate certain criminal cases in Hong Kong, and in some cases, Hong Kong might have to offer assistance in investigating cases elsewhere. The problem is that certain suspects are accused of serious crimes overseas, and evidence must be gathered in Hong Kong. So there are certain gray areas that are not covered by the existing legislation. And Hong Kong's enforcement officers do not know whether they should offer assistance. This is very complicated. Some of our young people are accused of serious crimes elsewhere. I would put these in writing for future discussion. This is an emerging trend. Finally, Mrs. Shiu Ka-chun. I have 3 points to make. Thank you. The drug testing and rehab program, since the meeting last time, no follow-up work has been done, so I hope the chairman can follow up on that. Number 2, the superintendent's discretion scheme, the auxiliary services or community support. I've heard rumors that the government would support it, would cancel it. If it's cancelled, what impact would it have on the scheme? Number 3, a lot of social workers have been denied entry to Macau for unknown reasons. I hope the SB can respond on that.
Members have mentioned many issues. I'll ask the clerk to collate them, and I will look at the concern members have expressed and also whether we should accord priority to the various issues. But I'd like to remind members, but actually some of the issues have been included in the issues suggested to be considered and also in the list of follow-up actions. Later on, I will meet the Security Bureau together with the Deputy Chairman to see what issues can be included in our agenda for future meetings and what priority should be accorded to different issues. Members have raised many issues, and in fact, apart from this platform, you can raise those by way of oral or written questions at council meetings. If you are only seeking data and figures, that might be a faster channel for you to get the information you want. Last but not least, items for discussion at the next meeting. I was aware that 3 members would like to take up the non-refoulement claim mechanism, and incidentally, the administration has also proposed this to be included in the agenda of the next meeting. And there are 2 others. One, combating phone scams. As you know, it has revived in recent times. And the other one, in the last term, because of filibustering, we were not able to pass the relevant ordinance and therefore to endorse the registered fire services engineer scheme. Any views, Deputy Chairman? Well, sometimes the administration may propose some items, but in fact, should we include 1 or 2 from members at every meeting? Well, there is no problem. When we meet with the administration, we can see how we can insert some of the issues raised by members into the agenda. Well, we don't have too many meetings, Chairman. We have to strike a balance. We should not always follow the administration's choices. I have heard you. Let me just say that the registered fire services engineer scheme is a concern to society because, as you know, because of filibustering, it was not carried in the last term. And as for the non-refoulement claims, 3 members have mentioned it as well. I think these 2 should be put on the agenda, and I think it's also appropriate to add the combating of phone scams. If members think there are other items which are more urgent, then together with you, Deputy Chairman, we can discuss those after we have met the Security Bureau. Shall we do that? If there's nothing else, item 4, AOB. There is nothing under AOB. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.